tactical taxation.
That's right.
It's all these things are so tactical. What is that? What is tactical taxation?
Tactical taxation. So I've had the privilege the last 3 years of being the chair of the committee that organizes the Architecture Week lecture with the Hamilton Burlington Society of Architects, and so we've sort of branded ourselves with this tactical word to try to make a string that ties all our lectures together. So tactical taxation was looking at the taxes that come off the land of our city, and sort of just trying to say, if you measure our city not on a site by site, but on a tax per acre or per hectare, what's the sort of return on investment that the city gets out of off the land? And so that's sort of taking this idea that the city is a corporation and it has this investment to make, and that investment is sort of land. So if you're going to invest in the city, what's the best outcome you can get from it? So tactical taxation, the lecture sort of argues, we brought Joe Minicozy up from Urban 3 in the States, and it argues that there's areas in the city that give back more than other areas. So downtowns, more densely populated areas, or more densely inhabited with businesses, gives more tax to the city, and so you have less space being used for to make more money. So anyways, it's a really interesting sort of way of looking at the city, something that has happened in Guelph, and we're working with the city and a couple other partners to try to bring Joe to Hamilton to do the work here. So that's a project in the making, and you know, we're hopeful that that'll go ahead.
So a practical application of that then moving forward then would be, I know the example that you had, because you also did a spread for us at Urbanicity magazine about that, and the example that I saw there was the example of a big box store, so a Lowe's or a Home Depot or like, something like that. The amount of taxes they pay is actually less than the amount of taxes that would be paid by a greater number of businesses in a smaller area, and the investment and the requirements to maintain the infrastructure, the water and the servicing, and that would actually be less for more return.
And that all comes back to that per hectare idea. Like if you take a box store, or like a Lowe's or a Home Depot, or not to say any of those companies are particularly bad, but they have a big site with a big parking lot. From that site, you get a lot of taxes. But if you use that site at the density of, say, a Hotel Hamilton, you get a lot more per hectare. So if it's when you sort of neutralize it, and the line that Joe uses is we don't measure cars based on the distance they can go per tank of gas. It's always miles per gallon, or 100 liters per kilometer, whatever the metric equivalent is, right? But so you don't measure based on tank size, because that'd be crazy. You know, F-150 has, you know, a 150 liter tank or whatever, and a little Toyota something has like a 50-liter tank. So that's when you put it on the level playing field is when you start to see the differences.
You can benchmark against them. So you've mentioned the HBSA. It's the Hamilton Burlington Society of Architects, and that is quite an interesting group. It's a whole bunch of architects who I know get together at least once a month, and they're doing all kinds of things, as lectures, conferences, awards. In fact, the awards just happened.
They did.
Tell us about that.
So the awards happened last Thursday, and it's an award program that had been around called the Leather Medal Awards that had sort of lost some momentum. So this was our first year back at it, and our plan is to have them happen every other year on the opposite years of the City of Hamilton Urban Design Awards. And basically it's to recognize great buildings in our community by our architects. So, you know, being that we aren't Toronto, we don't have the big buildings that are occurring across Canada. We don't always make it into the OAA awards, but there's some great architecture here, some great firms here, and so we decided it was a worthwhile cause to start them up again. There's some great volunteers with the society. Specifically, the chair of that committee, Cynthia Zahorik from Burlington, did an incredible amount of work, especially hot on the heels of her golf tournament that she planned, which, by the way, raised $14,000 for charity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So and we do all our events as charity events. So our awards raised a couple $1,000s for the United Way. So,
cool.
But just to try to, you know, bring focus on the design that is happening here in Hamilton, and the quality of the consultants that are here.
And you're actually now the incoming chair of the Hamilton Burlington Society of Architects, and that takes place in June, right? Right after the big Ontario conference.